Everybody, checking it out. See how we sound today. We sound pretty good. I gotta get a little close to the microphone. We start making so it's April 14th, 2018, and it was a very sunny, beautiful day out there today in the New York Metro Hoboken area. And there was an amazing amount of beautiful women on the street, and I find it very distracting, probably more distracting than anything else. But speaking of distractions, what is up with this Trump shooting missiles at Syria? Is that a distraction? It's so amazing how the news cycles work. So we have the Syrian missile thing, which was building. We kind of seen that coming, and I would get into that later. That what that actually meant, and how important it is, how unimportant it's not. Some combination of that bizarreness. And before that, it was the permutations of the Mueller investigation into Michael Cohen, into the FBI raid, into his office, into what are we going to do looking into Trump's sex life. It's become a sordid details of a very sad story. But before, remember, all right, so this is going on now, and then just right after that, but before Syria, wedged, I guess it would be Thursday, Friday-ish. James Comey's book is about to drop, so he just announced this interview with George Stephanopoulos. It's amazing that there's a guy that was the campaign manager for Bill Clinton and a major league operative of the Democratic Party, we just consider him a news reporter, a news host, an anchor on ABC now. Just an impartial kind of guy. Sure, he ran one of the greatest campaigns in the history of it. If you ever see that the War Room movie, you'll definitely see who George Stephanopoulos is. But he's interviewing Comey on Sunday night, and but now Comey, it's like, who cares? It's gone because we're worried about talking about Syria now because Trump just bombed Syria. And if you see the excerpts of Comey's books, they seem slightly, I don't know what's the word for him, insane. It's just like it's like prose. It's like there is no way that the things he's writing down as if they are facts are any way even related to facts. Well, they might be related to facts. I mean, I'm sure the principles are the same. I'm sure that he was in a room with Donald Trump, and they were both speaking, taking turns Q&Aing. Right off the bat, one of the things about Comey is you have to realize every time I see him, I remind of like an acting audition where a guy comes in and he reads the line, and it's like, you look like the guy, you're saying the words. I mean, your inflections are on, but they're not quite on. Like, I just don't believe you in the role of the guy telling the truth. That's not you. You're telling something, but it's not the truth. I just don't see or feel honesty. He wouldn't make it in the method acting world because he's not in the moment. He's more of the classic Sir Laurence Olivier type of actor. He's just reading lines. But I'm not in any way saying he's as convincing as Laurence Olivier. But at least Laurence Olivier was just act, my son. So when you see the Comey guy, it's hard to believe anything he says. But let's start with like why he got fired. Why was James Comey fired? Anybody? James Comey was fired because he was asked by the president. The president, had a meeting with him shortly after he was inaugurated, I believe. I think it was in February of 2017. And Trump's like, so what's up? And Comey, as stated by Comey in testimony in front of Congress, he said, well, I'm here to talk to you. I want you to know that there You're not under investigation for anything, illegal as far as the FBI is concerned. But you should know there's a dossier going around that claims that while you were in Russia, you paid some Russian hookers to pee on a bed slept in by the Obamas and possibly peed on you. I think you should be aware of that. To which Donald Trump was like, wow. He it's like that's a ridiculous story. You don't believe that, do you, James Comey? Well, according to his interview, he's like, well, I didn't know what to say. Trump said if even one, that line he's saying, he's going, you keep seeing it on the TV, on the teasers. He's like, well, Trump said, if my wife even 1% believes this is true, that would be terrible. And Comey is like, well, I was like, what kind of marriage do you have if you 1% that it could be true? No, he said if 1%. He's making the same point you're making, that it'd be a terrible thing, and it's ridiculous. But that's not why Comey was fired. Comey was fired because Trump asked him to, could you please tell the world that I'm not under investigation so we can get this Russian bullshit done with, and we can move on to other things the left can hate me about. What Comey said to Trump, allegedly, is that, well, Mr. President, I can't do that because if I say that, you're not under investigation, and then you become under investigation. It just doesn't look good for the investigation. And Trump was like, well, fuck that. It looks good. It doesn't look good for me. You have to come out and say, we'll worry about that when we come to it. I'm not under investigation right now. Just get out there and tell them I'm not under investigation. And Comey was, no, I can't do that, Mr. President. And Trump's like, okay, well, you're fired, and we'll get somebody else to do that. So that launched all the other bullshit. That launched the Mueller investigation, which is up until today, April 14th, 2018, does not include any Trump criminal activity. Sadly, what it seems to have gotten down to is they broke into, they had a warrant. It was legal. They broke into Michael Cohen's, his personal lawyer's office, and they said, yeah, Cohen, you're the bag man for Trump. You pay off all his paramours and all his extracurricular activity, as one would think a lifelong billionaire playboy would have. And when we get in there, we're going to tear open that office, and then, basically, my opinion is that he would just, they'll find stuff that is in no way, in any way, admissible in court, because there's a whole client-attorney privilege. There's nothing illegal about a man having sex with women and paying them to shut up about it. In fact, it's not an uncommon practice in the big leagues. So what will happen, I imagine, is they'll find a lot of stories that'll just, like everything else in the last few years, just leaks out. Completely illegal, but then they'll just leak out. And then the next thing you know, it'll just be embarrassing for the president. There'll be stories, flip-flop. And, it just basically to jam the president into his. We just have to hear about his sex life. They did the similar thing to Bill Clinton, and I don't think it was fair to Bill Clinton. But Bill. Just to flash back on that, Bill Clinton was Kenneth Starr, who has a little bit more power. Had so much power that they had to change that position. Than say Robert Mueller does. Mueller. So Kenneth Starr started investigating Bill Clinton 4 years before Bill Clinton ever met Monica Lewinsky. So it just goes to show you how out of hand these things could be, when really, what Clinton had done was made a lot of backdoor deals with the Chinese and allegedly gave away a lot of our technology to them. And the getting the blowjobs in the Oval Office, while unseemly to some, or isn't really that big a deal in terms of national security. Although, can you imagine if that happened today during the Me Too movements? Yeah, Me Too, Monica Lewinsky. And the story of Monica Lewinsky is that she was an unpaid intern who, I mean, this is basically the definition of a man abusing his power of his position. But Monica Lewinsky was an unpaid intern. The reason she even had an opportunity to meet Bill Clinton is because there was the government had shut down, and there was the paid interns, the staff couldn't, they were on strike, so they brought in the unpaid interns, which was Monica Lewinsky, and the rest, of course, is history. And that's the story of what's going on in terms of that investigation. Also, another thing is that Michael Cohen is actually the finance co-chair or deputy finance chairman of the RNC. So, if they pulled in there and started ripping things out, I'm sure they must have come up with some stuff that's also, unflattering to the GOP RNC, which would probably be most things. And as the DNC just went through this, maybe it's kind of trying to even a score, because the DNC was completely unearthed by those Awan brothers who hacked every computer of every congressman, every member of the DNC. So maybe it's an evening of the score there. I don't know, but not like the Awan brothers were Republicans. But that's what's going on. But it's also another thing in terms of this news cycle. It's like, remember, who was the guy that wrote the book? He interviewed Trump right when they were assembling his staff in the beginning. Who's that guy? Wolf. Like, I can't even remember his name. It was the biggest story ever. Oh, I got to get to Michael Wolff. So everybody was going to read the Michael Wolff book. Oh my God, the Michael Wolff book. And now nobody gives a fuck. It's done. It's Is anybody talking about the book? You're going to see that book on the beach? I mean, maybe you're going to see the Comey book. I don't know. Even that's fading, because now, are we at war? Are we not at war? The thing is, no, we're not at war. Actually, I'm definitely a violence as a last resort kind of guy. But then again, I'm not the leader of the free world, or it goes back to. I often play a clip, or I think I have at least for the first show, was of the Christopher Walken talking about the lion, and how the lion has he gets teased by the smaller lions, baby lions, the mama lions, and the girl lions, until one day he just tears everything to shit, because every now and then the lion's got to show who he is to everybody else. And this is what Trump is. This is what the Syrian missiles are. Chemical weapons have been illegal forever, and they really haven't evolved too much. Chlorine gas is still the same chlorine gas that they used in World War One, and that pretty terrible thing, and it's pretty cheap to manufacture. So it seems like these missiles were basically a attack on the manufacturing process. So now, if Syrians, and I don't know who the good guys or the bad guys are, and neither do you, be honest with you. It could be Assad, it could be the other guys, who knows. They both have gas, they both gas people, so it's just a matter of, whose side you want to be on. The fact that the Russians are supporting the, who's crying? I think that's my dog crying. Why is my dog crying right here when I'm talking about the Russians? You better stop crying about the Russians. She hates the Russians. Are you going to cry while we talk about the Russians, Jackie?
You watch those nature documentaries on the cable?
Yeah.
You see the one about lions?
Yeah.
Get this lion. He's the king of the jungle. Huge mane out there. He's laying down under a tree in the middle of Africa. He's so big. He's so hot. He doesn't want to move. Now, The little lion cubs, they start messing with him. Biting his tail, biting his ears. He doesn't do anything. The lioness, she starts messing with him, coming over, making trouble. Still, nothing. Now, the other animals, they notice this, and they start to move in. The jackals, hyenas, they're barking at him, laughing at him. They nip his toes and eat the food that's in his domain. They do this, and they get closer and closer and bolder, till one day, that lion gets up and tears the shit out of everybody, runs like the wind, eats everything in his path. Because every once in a while, the lion has to show the jackals who he is. It's too late to be scared. It's time to kill. I'm going to the other room. You come out when you're ready. Don't beat him. Kick his ass.
Every day I'm hustling, 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 every day